Hey folks, lesson 2 of our online course on politics. Oh, Facebook is telling me that there's a new... okay, I can show links during the live. Okay, I'm showing a new feature on Facebook. Cool. Alright. So we are going to talk about the classification of politics in general, especially from the perspective of a liberal-minded person, a citizen, and an objectivist. Okay, I'm going to use this term like objectivism. Some of you may know what it is. Still, I promise that I'll be covering like this term, and I'll talk about the philosophy of objectivism in depth, okay, in one of my lessons. So I wanted to tell you that English teachers are welcome to use this course as well for their students, in case if you'd like to. This is why I'm posting this on some in some Facebook groups that are made for English teachers. So without further ado, okay, let me switch my camera. Okay, so we will start with, like, again, this is from the perspective of an individual. So here's our human being. Okay. Is this okay? Or maybe I shall do this. Yeah, okay, that's good. So this is one end of our spectrum. We start from here and we move towards, like, let's say here. So we start with one human being, and on the other part of our spectrum we have groups. Yeah, groups of human beings. Okay, so in here we have what we call individualism. Individualism, like the term individual probably is known to most of you. Individual, it's like one human being. Yes, you are an individual. You are one human being. Yes. So the term individual is interesting itself. We might be analyzing it in the future. Hi, Arsene. Arsene is asking, do you think in this world there is exact objectivism? Well, Arsene, that's a nice question, but I hope I'll remember to answer your question by the end of the lesson, or by writing a comment. So I just advise you to study the philosophy of objectivism to better understand what is the philosophy of objectivism is about, okay? Because we might be using the same term, objectivism, but we might mean different things, okay? So first we need to agree on the definition of objectivism, what it is, okay? So from individualism, the extreme end, the other extreme end of our spectrum will be the term that I already used yesterday, collectivism. Collectivism. Yeah. So the term collective is a group of people. Yeah. Two people or more. It's a collective of individuals, right? So this is it. This is our first how to call it, classification. Yeah, our first classification. So there are lots of schools or political well, shall I call it directions, political schools or lines of thought which are very individualist. Yeah, the human being matters the most and not the group. And there are some political schools and like lineages which say that, well, the individual is always secondary, the group matters more than the individual, right? So this is our distinction. So can you think of some collectivist schools or styles of politics? What can be part of collectivism? And what can be part of individualism? So I will suggest you guys to pause this video when you'll be watching it later and think about this and try to come up with some ideas, okay? And write down your ideas in the comments. As of now, I'm going to give some clarifications, okay? So in collectivism, for instance, if we take one part of our spectrum, yeah, the collectivist part of our spectrum, we can find a number of schools or waves or directions or political styles of policy making, styles of governance or governing, yeah. Okay. For instance, socialism. Socialism. So actually the term collectivism and socialism, they are quite common. Like, again, society, yeah, or socium, if we take the Latin root of the word. So socialism is a type of collectivist politics making, yeah. Then we might have, for instance, apart from socialism, we can have nationalism. Nationalism. Do you see any difference between socialism and nationalism? Again, think over this. I try to make this course very interactive. So this is why I'm going to ask you lots of questions and ask you to think about those questions and come up with your answers, so that you're not just a consumer who is consuming, you know, this information. And I want you to give me some answers, because if you do that, you will also practice your writing. If you write some comments in English, it will make you practice your English writing skills. Yeah, you might get better at it, especially if me or some other people show you your mistakes, in case if you have them, etc. So socialism can be socialism doesn't have to be nationalistic. Yeah, for instance, USSR, like it was in many respects, especially in the beginning of its existence, it was super nationalist. Yeah, super, this Latin prefix super, or sometimes, very rarely in some languages, you might hear supra. Yeah, it means above. So super nationalistic, if I use this term, it means above nationalism. Yeah, in USSR they didn't care if you were Russian, Armenian, Georgian, etc., etc. Yeah, it was beyond nationalism, beyond nations, and it was beyond religions. Of course, there was atheism. Yes, atheism, or they called it scientific atheism, was the main ideology of USSR. But still, they didn't care much about your religious views. You could be Christian, Muslim, atheist, of course, as a believer, you couldn't you couldn't have important important jobs. Yeah, you couldn't have important titles in this political system, but still, many huge groups of people in USSR used to work together to make new roads, to build entire towns, and nobody cared whether you came from a historically Christian country like Armenia or Georgia, or Kazakhstan, historically a Muslim country like Kazakhstan, etc., etc. Like huge groups of people work together. So socialism can be inclusive in that respect. However, it is always about the society or the socium. Yeah. So socialism doesn't care about every single individual. Socialism cares about the collective or the society as a whole, and the individual here all alone always has to sacrifice for the sake of the society, for the sake of socialism or collectivism, or whatever you want to have here to insert instead of socialism. Yeah. And nationalism is another type of collectivist politics. Nationalism is about nation. Yeah, like my nation is better than yours, blah blah blah. Our nation is greater than yours. Huh? So nationalism is much more limited in that respect than socialism, right? And I'll be dedicating some time to cover, for instance, the 30-year Armenian nationalist experiment. Like the Third Republic of Armenia is quite nationalistic, yeah. So it's a very nice material to study in this course, like in the context of individualism and collectivism and nationalism in particular. Also, of course, we can have some other collectivist waves or styles of thinking, for instance, like fascism. I don't want to give you definitions. I want you to look those terms up on your own, okay? Just type in fascism meaning or definition of fascism on Google and just go through some, definitions, okay? Also, in Nazi Germany, we had National Socialism, yeah, or Nazism, as we call that thing, which happened to Germans because of Hitler and because of their support of Hitler. So, fascism is an extreme type of collectivist school of politics, which is extremely oppressive. Yes, and in this context, it would be nice to have two words like one term is authoritarian. I-A-N. Authoritarian. Yeah. So, what's the root of this word? Do you see it? I think it's easy to spot, right? It's authority. So authoritarianism is about worshipping some sort of authority. It can be one individual, like the tribesman, Stalin in USSR, or Hitler in Nazi Germany in the Third Reich, or the Third State, if you want. So it's about authority. Or, the political party can be the authority. In USSR, for instance, there was only one political party, uh, and the Communist Party, yeah, and you had to obey to the party, yeah, obey the party, and that's it. So authoritarianism is about, authority. Like, this guy is cool, he's the best, we cannot replace him. Like Putin in Russia or Lukashenko. All the dictators start with authoritarianism. Like, they tell people that I am the authority, I am the way, I am the alpha and the omega. You cannot live without me. Yeah, so this is an important term, and in collectivist uh, branches of politics, like authoritarianism is a very important tool of oppression and control. Yeah. And apart from authoritarianism, there's another term, totalitarian or totalitarianism. Yeah. So what's the root of this term? Just pause and think. It's very easy to spot again. It's total. Yeah. So totalitarianism is about total regulation or control of everything. And totalitarianism itself can be very conservative or kind of liberal. So, for instance, if I want to forbid everyone, like no smoking, yeah, smoking is forbidden, that's a type of totalitarianism. So I want to totally control everything, whatever happens in my society. Yeah, that's a totalitarian approach. Or I want to forbid abortion. So I want to have total control over all the citizens. I can be a socialist and have, socialism is very good friends with totalitarianism, like socialists and collectivists in general. Yeah, any branch of collectivism likes to totally control everything, like regulations. You have the right to do this, you don't have the right to do that. Like whom you can marry, or what you can smoke, etc., etc. So in this respect, okay, I'm going to remove those terms to get myself some space on my blackboard. So our second classification of our whole political system would be, or politics in general. I'm trying to think of an interesting way of depicting this. Okay, I'll do this. That's it. So, when we speak of politics, you can hear those terms like left wing, yeah, left. Sometimes they use the term leftist or lefty. This is considered like a bit derogatory, negative when someone says lefty, but well, it doesn't have to be. So left or left wing, yeah. Well, left wing is the one that is more or less liberal and open-minded. Like, if we take the first spectrum, whoever is on this side normally is a left-wing type of individualist, yeah. And then the opposite of left-wing would be, naturally, logically, that would be, of course, right wing. Yeah. So the term wing is interesting. It comes from, like, in parliaments, there are lots of seats, lots of people, and they say that the president of the parliament or someone else would look into the audience, and he would distinguish the audience, like he would speak of the left wing and the right wing, and this is how they say those terms came to be, because certain groups of people would sit on certain parts, yeah, in the audience. So right wing is, there's another term, is conservative. So to conserve is to keep, yeah? When you don't want things to change, you want to conserve them the way they are. That's the term. To conserve means to keep. You are against change. You do not want change, yeah? And another term for, like, the opposite of conservatism would be liberal. Liberal. Well, you can see, I hope you can see, like, the root of the term liberal, liberty, yeah, which means freedom. So liberal, people who are liberal, they are for change, for freedom, for progressive politics. Yeah, that's another term. Progressive, like progress, when you move forward, when you change. Yeah. Conservative is when you try to keep everything the way it is. You do not want to change anything. That's it. And at the center, we have centrists. Centrists or centrism, yeah, like people who do not want, extreme changes, and also people who want some changes. They are neither conservative nor neither totally conservative nor totally or overtly liberal. So they are somewhere around the center. Okay. So this is the second spectrum. There are some collectivist schools or branches of politics that are more or less leftist. For instance, socialism. Some forms of socialism can be very leftist. Marxism, socialism. In USSR, before Joseph Stalin came, for instance, homosexuality was not even criminalized. So they were very liberal in terms of sexuality as well. They would even brag in some, during some international conferences on sexuality, the representatives of USSR, so USSR, Union of Socialist Soviet Republics. It was a big country which involved more than a dozen countries, including my country, Armenia. So the representative of USSR would boast, B-O-A-S-T, boast or brag. To boast, to brag. We are free-thinking people. We do not criminalize homosexuality the way it is done in bourgeois Western societies. Yeah. So socialism and communism can be left-wingish, right, in some ways. So and of course, most of collectivist political waves or schools are right-wing. They try to be centrist, but often they go to the right side. Like, we want to keep our society the way it is. We want to keep our traditions. So always when we have like an individual like Stalin or Putin, like whoever wants to keep the control, of course they tend to become conservative. And if your political leader talks about conserving things, that can be an alarming sign that he wants to remain, he wants to usurp or to keep the power. Okay, so that's the second classification. Mm-hmm. And the last part of this lesson, actually, individualism has different flavors as well. So we have, for instance, like libertarians. Um, well, the term is self-describing. Yeah, it's about liberty. We have objectivists or objectivism, which is a political or which is a holistic philosophy, right? I'll cover it in detail much later, but now I'll just say that objectivism is about respecting the freedoms and rights of individuals. For instance, an objectivist doesn't say that you have to serve in the army for the sake of the nation. That's not an individualist, not an objectivist approach, right? In general, you don't have to do that. If you want to, you can join the army, but you have no obligations, like also in terms of taxation. There are some forms of individualism which say I don't have to pay taxes. I can donate to like charities, to some individuals, organizations, government branches, etc. But I don't have to pay taxes, right? So there are objectivists, and there are, for instance, anarchists. Lots of types of anarchism. The term anarchy is interesting. Archos, or in ancient Greek, archos, is the leader, the ruler. Yeah. So monarchy, monoarchos, one ruler. Yeah. Historically, like it can be the king, it can be a dictator, etc., etc. So anarchy is when there is no leader. And there is no, in some forms of anarchism, there is no government at all. Like, I can control myself, I can deal with my fellow individuals, and I don't need, huge government structures to control my behavior and to restrict my rights. Yeah, we can make a deal together, and in case if we have criminals, we can create our own militia or police without like big government structures to limit our rights further. Okay, so individualism has different flavors as well. So we can start from anarchy, and then libertarians, and then objectivists. So the difference between libertarianism and objectivism, like objectivism has its own philosophy, like what is right, what is wrong, how you some sort of values. Libertarianism is like, well, you can have your own philosophy, you can have your own religion. Objectivism, in that respect, is much more holistic. Like libertarians can be like, well, I don't care whether you're Christian or Jew. You can come in. The most important thing is to respect the freedoms of individuals. However, there is some contradiction. For instance, when in schools, on the one hand, you speak of evolution and Darwinism, and then there's a religious person who talks about the fact that it's false. There is contradiction, and it's a big problem. Yeah. And actually, we have this huge problem of corruption when individuals like Putin, Lukashenko, Nazarbayev, Serge Sargsyan in Armenia, Robert Kocharian, they come in and they corrupt the system. They want to become irreplaceable monarchs, yeah, leaders that will have total control over everything. So in this respect, objectivism, this is my subjective opinion, objectivism has a more robust system of self-defense. Okay, and we'll be talking about this as well. Libertarianism can be is in some languages we say it is teethless. It has no teeth, or it has no system of self-defense, right? Um, and that's a big problem. Like Russia in by the end of 90s and Russia today, like these are two totally different countries, right? So yeah, and in the end, I would like to distinguish between two types of individualism, and this will be the end of this lesson. So there's one type of individualism which I will call Nietzschean type of individualism. Friedrich Nietzsche was a philosopher, right? Just like Ayn Rand, the creator of Objectivism. So let's distinguish between those two types of individualism. So Nietzsche, I hope I'm writing his name correctly, Nietzsche. I'll just check it now. So Nietzsche, and there is the adjective Nietzschean or Nietzschean, yeah? Nietzschean type of individualism. Nietzsche was like, well, I'm better than you, I'm smarter. Lots of people are dumb, and I have more oh, in English they write Nietzsche. That's strange. Okay, so in many places they write Nietzsche without E, but still the adjective, what type of Nietzschean, yeah? So he was like, I can manipulate, I can spit at you if I want to, I can lie to you, I can cheat, I am better, I'm smarter. I'm an individual who doesn't care about religion, who doesn't care about sheeple or sheepish people. This is a funny term, actually. Like, this is a negative term. Let's have it. Sheeple. So sheeple or sheepish people, yeah? People who act like sheep, but this is a negative term, okay? So Nietzsche was like, I don't care about sheeple, I don't care about the masses. If I want something, I can get it. I will allow myself to cheat, to lie, to do whatever I want to get whatever I need, okay? So this is a Nietzschean type of individualism, which doesn't respect the rights of other human beings, which is very aggressive, yeah? And then we have, Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is the creator of the philosophy of objectivism. So I'll use another term, Randian. Yeah. I think in this case it should be Randian or E, I'm not sure. So the individualism of Ayn Rand is much more humanistic by its nature. Like, I have my own rights and freedoms, but you have rights and freedoms as well. And I am going to respect you as long as you respect me. This is Ayn Randian type of individualism, which respects the rights of other human beings as well. And she's very clear about this. She has like a whole books and lots of articles about the politics of objectivism. So this is the last classification. Like individualism can be Nietzschean and can be Randian. Yeah. This is it. I invite you guys to just give me your thoughts. If you have questions, you're welcome. Just type in and practice also, your English writing skills. Okay. See you next time. And on our third lecture, I'll be talking about the disadvantages of collectivist branches of politics, like the negative sides, the problems that we face in collectivist politics in general. I'll talk about like the experience that Armenia, the Republic of Armenia, had with collectivism, and especially nationalism. In particular, monoethnic nationalism. Mono is one, ethnos is ethnicity, so monoethnic, like nationalism, which is centered around one ethnicity, like only Armenians, only Russians, etc., etc. Right? So, see you next time.